Hello everyone, it's Dr. Wolf here, and in this video I want to intro the exercise summative lab. Alright, so in just a sec, before you do the exercise summative lab, you're going to finish up your formative. So you guys collected data yesterday. If you weren't here yesterday, you'll have some sample data that can be given to you. The formative, when you're done with it, you make the graph, you interpret it. Remember to use your resources, right, the website to help you out. Take a picture of it and upload it to Canvas. Alright, I'm going to be checking those in right after school today. In Minnesota. All right. Then in the second half of class today, you're going to start your exercise summative lab. So what's going on with this lab? You should have the exercise summative lab packets. I should have picked those up at the beginning of class today. But I'm going to introduce it on my website right here. So if you can, follow along with this on your iPad. So you're going to head to my website, go to the Unit 2 page. We're going to scroll down past our agenda, the files and links, and boom, exercise summative lab. So the goal of this lab is to conduct a scientific investigation to learn more about the exercises that you're interested in. All right, you have a lot of choice in this lab. So I'm going to click on the exercise summative. Remember, you could always click here if you just happen to lose your exercise summative lab. And your goal today is to work on page 3. All right, page 3. All right, I'm going to bring it up over here. All right. So how does blank affect blank? Looks very similar to the formative, right? You do not need to finish this in class today, but I want you to get a healthy start. You will have some time on Monday to start planning this, all right? So by the way, what's the timetable of this going to look like? All right. I'm going to just bring this up coming over here so my video's not in the way. Today, you're going to plan. Next Monday, you're going to plan. And then Tuesday, it's go time. Like, we're going to be in the PWC running this experiment. And then on Wednesday, you're going to have time to analyze and interpret your data. And again, all this is going to be for a summative grade. Okay. So for this experiment, what can you measure, right? What can you see might be affected? There's a bunch. So first one is you can measure heart rate. How do you do that? Click on this link and it'll give you a video of how to actually measure your pulse to get your heart rate. What about reaction time? We've done that before, but if you need a reminder, click on this video, and then if you'll get a measurement in, remember, we're going to catch a ruler, so you're going to get a measurement in centimeters. You need to convert that to time. You'll use this by clicking on this reaction time link, right? Putting in your name, student mixed students in, where you caught the ruler, and then what reaction time that would have been. All right. This says heart, I need to change that. It's breathing rate. You can measure your breathing rate. This video will tell you how to do that. And you could also use an oximeter. This is a really cool device. You could get heart rate from it, but you could also get oxygen saturation, essentially what percent of oxygen is in your blood. Well, not percent, but what's the percent of the total amount that should be in your blood. And for this, I would only do the oxygen saturation if you're going to do some intense exercise. Right, so I've had students that have really tried to they've sprinted or they've really lifted and then they use the pulse oximeter, and you could get some really interesting data with that. If you're doing a little bit more of a light exercise, I wouldn't look at oxygen saturation. Other things you can measure: time to perform blank exercise, the number of reps or things that you could do. And then body temperature, you could also do. Take a thermometer, put it right under your armpit to get your core temperature. So those are some things you can measure. What about things that you could test, like change, right? Well, here, I want you to just think about what do people do when they exercise? They warm up, they try different amounts or different intensities of exercise. They might do just different types of exercise. They might listen to music beforehand to motivate them, compete against someone, try different interventions or just something different. So these are all things that you could add in, change, right? Manipulate in your experiment. In terms of the materials you're going to have, we're going to be in the PWC, the top floor, not that second one where there's the field and all the main big lifting stuff, but there's still plenty of stuff here to run a cool experiment. So, and before I go into the materials, one thing I want you to be thinking about is I want you to run an experiment that you're interested in. So for instance, if you play basketball, obviously we're not going to be on a basketball court, but what are some exercises or movements or things that are related to basketball or cross country or wrestling, whatever you do? And even if you don't play a sport, how do you like to stay active? What would you want to do, right? Based on your interests. All right. It could even be dance, right? So in the PWC, there's kettlebells and these thingies. I wish I had better names for some of them. These stair things. There's a room for things like just jump squats, sit-ups, just a room to kind of do certain exercises, kind of like our classroom. Then there's this pull-down machine. There's weights up to 25 pounds. I am bringing my weighted vest from home. It goes from 16 to 80 pounds. If you're interested in you doing this, email me because I may have to get back to you and say like, oh, you can't do this just because there's only one vest and so many people. There's also the elliptical machines. There's bikes, treadmills for days, row machines, weights 5, 10, 15 pounds in another spot, and then the Stairmaster. So think about with all, like what type of exercise would you want to do? Would you want to do the same exercise and change something up? Would you want to be comparing two different exercises? Again, it's up to you. All right. Now, one thing I want to stress, one other thing to do to kind of inspire your question is you could just go back to some of the information we've already looked at just like the different types of aerobic and anaerobic. You don't have to do aerobic and anaerobic. You could just do two different types of aerobic, two types of anaerobic. Again, you have a lot more freedom with this lab. All right. If I go back to my lab right here, there is like some constraints I want to put on your question. All right. It needs to be a question that you want to find out the answer to. So for instance, asking the question, does running affect your heart rate? It's going to affect it. It's going to go up. So that can't be a question you're going to ask, right? But you might think about, okay, like, well, what could affect reaction time, right? Like would this exercise increase it? Would it decrease it? Would different types, right? So, or maybe it's something with heart rate. Obviously, like weightlifting is going to be much different, or is it going to be different than, let's say, like running, cardio? Again, try to ask a question that's related to what you're interested in, and you don't necessarily know the answer, or you think you know the answer, but you're not quite sure. All right. Let's see if there's anything else. I went over the timetable. So, guys, that's about it. Your goal today is to come up with your experimental question. All right. Plan this as best as you can. And then again, you'll have a little bit of time on Monday, but I do want like a healthy completion of page 3 by today. Do it in pencil because this is a summative. Please do it in pencil so you can make changes, things like that. And let's see, I feel like there was one more thing. Oh, when you're done, take a picture and submit this to Canvas too. So you should be submitting 2 things to Canvas by the end of the day. And I'm going to be checking that in right after school today from Minnesota. Guys, have a great weekend, and I'll see you on Monday.